Whenever anyone goes into a restaurant, we take a gamble. We place our order, we hope the servers get the order right, we hope they aren't having a less than good day so they won't spit in our food. With such a gamble, do we really need to give a little more to hopefully get a little more? This isn't fair for anyone. I don't tip, and I don't feel that you should either. And my reasoning is very simple. I simply feel that no one should be given anything extra for doing what is expected of them. Now, I've worked as a waiter here in California at several different places. I've worked at IHOP, Denny's, Tyler's Taste of Texas. You name it, I've worked there. And during my time, I got a lot of money off of tips. But, like I said before, I didn't necessarily feel like I deserved them. I mean, I had been getting paid hourly for my service, and quite frankly, every time I got tipped, I felt that people were doing it because they felt sorry for me. Like, they felt that I was almost destitute and I was in desperate need for the money. Through several interviews I have done at different restaurants, the reasons for tipping have varied. Some tip because they feel that most of the servers are students and they need the money. Other people's tip because they feel sorry for them. Or some people just tip because the service is good. But as I found out through many of the interviews I've done, people also tend to tip because they don't think. One such man I had interviewed said that it had become essentially second nature. He said this, and I quote, "It's become kind of programmed in my head. I just throw the money out onto the counter without a reason." When I asked him how the service was, he said that he couldn't even remember. I went on to ask people how much the appropriate amount was to tip someone, and the general number that I got was between 15 to 20% of the total check, regardless of what the service was like. And one of the times when I was out, there was a group of young men, there was 4 of them, at a table next to me. I decided to ask them what their feelings of tipping was, and they all said that 5%, regardless of the service, is the way to go. These guys looked like they had money, so I decided to ask why. They said that 5% is a good mid-ground, whether or not the service was either good or bad. When it came to asking the servers about how they felt about tipping, they were all very happy about the tips they got, except for one. Marty, who's one of the waitresses at one of the Denny's that's in my area, had a very negative look on it. And she said that tipping had essentially become just another competition for people to partake in their daily lives now. She says this: "It doesn't matter what you do anymore. The customer is going to tip just so they can say they tip. They don't really care what it's for anymore. It's all about who tips the most." I'm not sure about you guys, but I personally can't afford to be tipping, especially with the economy and how it's doing right now. And these people are paid to make sure that your order is taken and that your glasses remain filled. I mean, for anyone who says, "But don't you want your food hot when given, or your refills to be constant?" I remind you, a tip is given at the end of the meal, not at the beginning. Alright? Your drinks are going to be refilled, and the food isn't up to the server. If the cook makes it hot, it's going to be hot. And the idea that good tipping leads to good repeat service is completely unfounded. I personally have tried this over a course of several years, and the service has never gotten better, ever. They don't care. Alright? The simple fact is that in just about any restaurant setting, at least when I worked in them, favoritism is not allowed. Okay? It isn't allowed, and it isn't tolerated. It doesn't exist. And if none of this convinces any of you that tipping is unnecessary, look at EMTs, firefighters, and policemen. EMTs, for those of you who don't know, they're those guys who are first on scene when an ambulance shows up, and their job is to keep you alive while you're in the back of the van. They work anywhere from 17 to 48-hour shifts and are paid minimum wage. Police officers are paid to take a bullet for us and solve the crimes we report. They get paid as low as $25,000 a year. A firefighter, someone who has the job to battle the literal elements of life, is paid up to $41,000 a year. Not to mention the overnights that they have to do constantly in shifts away from their families. The only difference between an EMT, a firefighter, a police officer, and a server is that 3 of those guys protect us on a day-to-day basis, and only one of them feeds us high cholesterol food when we want it. I thank you all very much for taking the time to view this video. Have a good day and eat well.